Chapter 8. Riders on the Storm. Julian Mercer met his end on that road, enveloped by the night, his demise heralded by the harsh glare of headlights and the screech of tires on asphalt. The serenity of the Pennsylvania woods was ruptured, permeated by a tragedy marked by the mingling scents of spilled wine and burnt rubber. In the oppressive shadow of ancient oaks, Julian's legacy, defined not by greatness, but by a profound and unsettling malevolence, reached its sudden conclusion. Born into privilege, Julian's life was characterized by an isolation that wealth intensified rather than alleviated. His family's fortune, rooted in the reprehensible dealings of the slave trade, had morphed over generations into a vast empire built on the exploitation of the vulnerable through banking, insurance, and high-interest lending. Despite this, Julian was raised in emotional neglect. His parents, engrossed in their relentless pursuit of wealth, viewed him as merely the next custodian of their questionable legacy. Devoid of love and largely overlooked, Julian cultivated a detachment that masked deep-seated bitterness and a propensity for cruelty that repelled even those who tried to get close. Julian's academic and professional life became arenas for proving his worth, not through the pursuit of knowledge, but through sheer dominance. His success in business and economics wasn't merely academic, it was strategic, transforming his education into a lever to dismantle the very foundations of the Mercer Empire. His ambition was not fueled by a desire for financial success, but by a vendetta against his own lineage, a relentless drive to see the Mercer legacy crumble, marking his own supremacy. With unwavering resolve, Julian plunged into the business world, harboring a singular, devastating ambition to dismantle his family's empire. This vendetta, steeped in years of neglect, was driven by a need for recognition, a desire for his family to finally acknowledge his significance. Opting to infiltrate the ranks of his family's fiercest rivals, Julian committed what he deemed a necessary betrayal, aiming to erode the Mercer legacy from within. Julian's rise was swift, his path marked by a lethal blend of charm and strategy. Though initially lauded for his sharp business sense, his colleagues soon recognized the dangerous intensity behind his ambition. His disdain for his lineage was not just evident but intense, installing a mix of fear and fascination. Julian was relentless, every move calculated to undermine the Mercers from the shadows. Employing tactics that bordered on the nefarious, Julian orchestrated the downfall of the Mercer Empire with clinical precision. Through leaks, market manipulation, and fostering internal discord, he ensured his direct involvement remained ambiguous, his hands seemingly clean. When the Mercer Empire finally collapsed under the weight of scandal and mismanagement, Julian, in solitude, raised a glass of champagne, a bleak celebration of a victory that felt as empty as the void within him. In the afterlife, Julian Mercer discovered a realm where his manipulative and cruel tendencies thrived unchecked by mortal constraints. Here, in the liminal spaces between life and death, he found not redemption, but a deeper embrace of malevolence. Death had merely shifted the playing field for his insatiable desire to dominate. Pennsylvania's shadowed realm became his hunting ground, where he sought out souls freshly severed from life. His first conquest, Thomas Wilkes, a spirit bewildered by his sudden death, became the dark herald of Julian's power. Thomas, lost in the spectral echoes of his former life, was the ideal target for Julian's cruel intentions. As Thomas meandered through the streets of his past, Julian, a spectre of predation, closed in. The ensuing assault was both sudden and vicious, with Julian emerging from the darkness to ensnare Thomas in a grip that belied his ethereal form. The attack transcended the physical. It was a psychological onslaught designed to break Thomas's spirit entirely. Each blow delivered by Julian was calculated to erode Thomas's essence, pushing him past the brink of despair. The transformation wrought upon Thomas was a grotesque perversion, reshaping him into a wight, a being of pure malevolence, moulded by Julian's will. Standing over his creation, Julian felt a perverse satisfaction. Thomas was merely the first of many, a sign of the dark empire Julian was poised to build within the afterlife. Julian's quest for dominance grew ever more ruthless. He hunted the newly deceased with an obsession that surpassed even his earthly endeavours. Employing tactics of deception and cruelty, he ensnared the vulnerable, subjecting them to a transformation that stripped them of their humanity and bound them to his will. These wights, twisted echoes of their former selves, became Julian's legion, each a dark marker of his power. Through this grim craft, Julian found his true purpose beyond death, not merely as a predator, but as the sovereign of a kingdom built on shadows and suffering. Julian Mercer's dark reign in the afterlife knew no bounds. His legion of wights, a testament to his macabre transformation of the newly deceased, grew incessantly. These twisted spirits, once individuals with hopes and fears, now served Julian, seeing in him a grotesque form of salvation. They were his to command, spreading across Pennsylvania to ensnare more souls, each new wight amplifying the horror of Julian's empire. Unchecked, Julian's influence permeated the afterlife, his dominance a malignant force that twisted the state into a realm of terror. To the living, this war remained invisible, yet the consequences were palpably felt, with tales of hauntings and apparitions becoming increasingly common. Julian, though unseen, instilled a pervasive fear, his legacy of dread reaching far beyond those who knew his name. In death, Julian achieved a perverse form of greatness, establishing an empire built not on wealth, but upon the very essence of fear and despair. His command over this corner of the realm was absolute, his army of wights relentless in their pursuit of domination. Nightly they roamed, an ever-growing force that left no corner of Pennsylvania untouched by fear. This empire of shadows, forged from Julian's darkest desires, stood as a chilling monument to his will. It was an empire where silence reigned, save for the cries of the tormented. Both the spirits he had bound to his dark will, and those living souls who felt his influence creeping into their world. Julian Mercer, a name that once commanded boardrooms, now conjured fear in the dead. In the vastness of his shadowy realm, Julian stood alone, a king of despair ruling over a kingdom of the damned. His legacy was a stark reminder of the depths to which one could fall when consumed by vengeance and malice. Julian's darkness, with its shadows looming at Pennsylvania's borders, stood on the brink of stretching further, a menacing spectre ready to envelop all in its path.